Hey you guys, what's up? It's your girl Najwa. If you're new here, please hit the like and subscribe button, hit that bell so you know whenever I post a video. Let's get into it today. Like a lot of my videos, this is going to be a controversial topic. We're going to talk a little bit about the red pill movement, okay? I'm just gonna put it right out there. But before we get into that, to my channel subscriber, I do want to give you guys a little shout out, say that I love you, thank you for being here. By the way, again, if you are new to this community, join us, okay? It's all love over here. I came across this video that, you know, there's a lot of videos now on YouTube and TikTok that do like a little hot compilation of like a bunch of different TikTokers talking about a hot subject. And this one was actually an all male TikTok almost panel, if you will. By the way, I hope you guys are liking like my hair today. Tried to slick them edges down. This one over here, this little baby hair over here is just rambunctious. I tried, y'all. I tried. There's not necessarily a precedent here where I feel like I'm some sort of expert or that I have just like all authority to speak on this subject, but I saw that it was all men. I love the strong men and they're standing up for values of being gentlemanly, being a protector of families, being good partners, being good spouses, being good husbands, and really recognizing the beauty and feminine energy and respecting that. We're gonna watch it together. There's been so much going on. By the way, update, me and my husband are about to get a little puppy. I'm so excited, guys. Got it, guys. We've already bought all of his little stuff. We bought his little bed, little house, you know, all of his blankets and medical supplies. I just figured I'd give you guys that life update, not that you asked for it. Okay, and I'm gonna be pausing to talk about this, so here we go.
So how you feel, homie? We all know that red pill content creates incel. We all know this is not something that's hidden under a rock. We all know that a lot of men who ingest that red pill are incels. And for the people that keep telling me that red pill was not intended for this, the original red pill was not like this, please.
Okay, I know I've literally gone like 2 seconds in. I cannot go more than 2 seconds in without pausing, and I do that with movies, everything. My friends, my family, everyone, oh my God, stop rewinding, stop pausing, stop. I've got to talk about this, okay? First of all, this is my brother, and I can already tell from his vernacular, okay, like we coming from the same place. I'm there with you, brother, okay? And what he spits next is some real wisdom. And why am I talking about this right now on my channel? I know I'm not a man. I know I'm not, you know, deeply involved within the men's rights movement that's emerged online, but I am an ally of humanity. That's how I like to think of myself. So I often do see the good in the downtrodden. Even in my life, sometimes I befriend people who, my circle, my peeps, they're like, oh, we don't like them. I guess that's just the fault to me. I try to see the good in all God's creatures, not coming from a pick-me energy space. Pick-me is really just... yeah, I feel like I've seen so many men within my life and within like the circles that I follow in media, in, you know, social media, in my career, I feel like so many men have unfortunately been touched by propaganda that's really, really destructive. Like they buy into this idea, but all the meanwhile not knowing that the powers that be within these red pill, incel, men's rights movements, far right extremist movements, they don't care about these men. You know, they are foot soldiers to prop up the rich, you know, and to prop up people who are trying to get rich. All the meanwhile doing intensively destructive damage to our psyche and almost our cohesion, what is supposed to be our cohesion as society, with a balance between masculine and feminine. I mean, you go all the way back to the birth of civilization in Africa. Like it or not, a lot of these spaces are grotesquely sexist, grotesquely misogynistic, racist, and homophobic. And it's not like those thoughts just came out of nowhere, you know, like those thoughts have existed in society since colonization. But the thing is those powers that be that I just talked about, those powers that don't care about them, again, they're just foot soldiers to prop up the rich getting richer, and those who want to be rich becoming rich. They never really cared about misogyny or, you know, racism or bigotry. They'll say whatever. They'll say anything misogynistic, racist, white supremacist, whatever they need, just to stir up some emotion in these vulnerable men. And these vulnerable men, I've talked with them online, okay? They've come on my channel, they've commented on my channel, and I've actually had discussions with them through comments, you know, not like in person or anything, but just through comments to kind of get into their head. Because again, I am a champion of the downtrodden, you know, and I don't put myself in spaces where I'll ever be in danger. But I do like to hear both sides. I do like to hear them and hear where people are coming from. Because when I look at these men, I don't necessarily see potential terrorists or, you know, woman beaters or potential massacres or anything like that. I see someone I could have went to high school with. I see someone who could be in my family. I see because anybody is susceptible to falling prey to people who want to take advantage of you. And so again, that's why I'm not trying to be a pick-me, not trying to preach, not trying to sermon, but that's why I felt I needed to talk about this, because it really needs to be talked about. I mean, have you seen the rates of increase of opioid addiction, overdose by opioid amongst young men? This is serious. This is serious. It's not just about getting dating tips. This is turned into a global, because it's happening all over the world, not just in the US, not just in the West or the West. It is a global catastrophe. And if I saw my brother, my cousin, my nephew, someone I went to high school with, someone I worked with, was falling into this, I would be really concerned. And the last thing I'm going to say before I go back is I feel like a lot of this is due to people having unhealed trauma. And when I said mass opioid addiction, suicide, because all of those are actually linked to this red pill movement, do the research. I also want to include in there that men have stopped going to school and they've stopped entering into higher education. They've stopped entering into white collar jobs. You know, they've stopped entering into the workforce, actually, a lot, period. A lot of them are like not working because they're not working. They're not being surrounded with love by their family because they're not socializing anymore. They're self-isolating. They're committing suicide. They're being radicalized and going on to commit violence. There are studies that link these things with this red pill movement. And so it is really, really toxic. And that's why I feel like me as a woman and as a Black woman, big sis energy, because that's my energy. You know, you can believe whatever you think that my energy is, but that's what my energy is. I just want to be like, hey, bro, no matter what color you are, if you're big, small, Hispanic, white, Black, Asian, smart, funny, I don't care. I would still say, hey bro, let me just warn you real quick, big sis energy, you're about to mess your life up, you know, by some people who was making it feel like you got some solidarity with them because you want to project an alpha male, but really these people are just taking advantage of you. Andrew Tate's and all these types of figures in the movement, Russell Brand, Piers Morgan, they don't care about you, baby. They don't care about you. But even Black MAGA men, it's just like, stop, please stop. And I don't feel, this video will probably get suppressed, but I don't feel like the algorithm and these corrupt social media companies even let the conversation be had from the end of women without it being turned into a hysterical, woke, feminist. And I don't claim myself to be a feminist. You know what I'm saying. So let me just caveat that and give that introduction. Here we are continuing.
Shut the up. Doesn't matter what it was intended to be. Look at what it is now. Look at what it's done. You understand what I'm saying? Look how these men are emotionally unstable. They're dangerous. You can have a conversation with these red pill demons without them being triggered by something. They're always triggered by something on the internet. They're in these comments arguing with these women. They see a random girl. You know what I'm saying? In the comments, if she looks too pretty, if she's half dressed, whatever, they're in the comments arguing. Nobody's gonna want you in 10 years. Just triggered by something is wrong with them. And then the older men, like the older men that's like mid 30s, late 40s, 50s, something is completely wrong with them. There's so many of them in that space. You know what I'm saying? So many men that have really taken on this red pill and it has really destroyed y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all are fucked up. And then y'all are hypocrites because y'all are the ones paying for the OF models. Y'all are the ones buying hoes. Y'all are the ones buying sex. It is you guys. But for a group of men that just don't like promiscuous activity, y'all don't fuck with that at all. Y'all sure do fund that so much. Y'all put a lot of your hard-earned money into that industry. Y'all idolize women way too much. Your whole movement as far as red pill, from when it started to now, I don't give a has been about women.
And it's been a long time.
It has been about women since the beginning.
It's been since Donald Trump came on the scene.
Mother couldn't get them. So it's been the same thing. And the reason why it's so funny is because it still ain't working. The method that the red pill came up with is still not working. If you with some of the they saying, you're a cornball. If you're red pill adjacent, you're a cornball. If you just happen to be in red pill spaces, you're a cornball. Doesn't matter. This just is not player at all. That's why
it's not player.
Just don't make sense. So for all
it
you
really
motherfuckers who really want to glow up, like, you got to get out those red pill spaces.
You have to
your mind.
For your mental, spiritual health.
Pill if you're a man, stay away from that industry. It's going to ruin you and your life.
My Muslim
and your future
brother.
Forever.
For those of y'all who don't know, I grew up
Muslim.
Muslim.
Where me and a lot of people I know used to follow this red pill stuff until I actually grew a pair of balls. Only a real man,
Catholic
only a real
now,
father or husband, right, can
I
actually
still
look after
respect the
their family,
religion.
maintain their masculinity, and have everything in check. Understanding that your woman has a role in your life and that they are actually not a burden on you. And of course, you have to be able to pick the right woman. I'm someone who's been married and
Let me pause this. I just want to pause this real quick to say, if you didn't hear me, I actually grew up Muslim. I grew up around Black Muslims. Now, I come from a long line of Christians, but my parents mixed it up a little bit and they converted to Islam. And I'm so thankful for my upbringing. Like, I learned so many things from the Quran, so many things from not just being exposed to like the Black Muslim community, but also interacting with the foreign Muslim community in the US. So people who come from Algeria, people who come from Saudi Arabia. I mean, I've met so many different people. And then I lived in London for quite a bit of time. And then I got exposed to this whole realm of beautiful Muslim people when I was living in the UK. And in many ways, the Muslim faith coincides with Christianity, with Judaism. There is just this picture painted, you know, that they're just, you know, I'm not even going to give it credence here. But if you really will meet a lot of strong Muslim men, they can laugh with you. They can, you know, shoot the, you know what, with you. They can pass the time and have a good old time. But they can also be really, really intrinsically entrenched in their faith and the tenets of the Quran. And what this brother is saying is that if you were following the incel movement, you are intrinsically, if you're Muslim, you're intrinsically going against Islam. And I completely agree with him. And as a Christian, I agree from the Christian faith as well. I feel like if you're engaging in all of this hateful behavior, you are not, I mean, that's not what God condones. So, yeah, but let's keep going. I don't want to keep stopping, but I did want to say that.
Got a child now, alhamdulillah, right? And one thing I can tell you, the right partner will make your life so much easier. And this red pill nonsense makes you look at women as if they're objects, etc. I'm not making this video to say, oh look, he's just doing it for the women. I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm married, I have a child, I'm happy. But this is for a lot of young people that look at women a different way. Yes, the wrong woman can absolutely ruin your life, and I stand by that 100%. But you boys need to pick better women, and by that I mean improving yourself. If you're not a type of person that can attract the woman that you want, how can you get the woman that you want to be standing by your side for the rest of your life, to look after your children, to take care of you and each other? And trust me, real masculinity is having a family, being a good father, being a good inspiration for just that one person and your offspring. And if you're a man who wants to learn and lead by example, be sure to follow.
These are one of those videos I'm very...
This is the sister. She sounds, I guessed from Kenya. If you know what her accent is in the comments, let me know, because I'm always trying to figure out my brothers and sisters from Africa what their accent is from. So she basically gives a really, really thoughtful analysis on this. If you're having a hard time understanding her, I didn't have a hard time understanding her because when I started traveling about 10 years ago, I started meeting so many of my sisters and brothers from the diaspora. It's the same way like how I learned French, you know, when I moved to France and you know, being married to someone of a different culture, learning Portuguese. He speaks Portuguese, my husband speaks Portuguese. Like, I haven't learned Portuguese yet, but I'm starting to. It's like a muscle, you know, when your brain or your ear, you know, I would say the ear, but it's really your brain. But when you start training your ear to really identify the dialect of people, you know, it becomes easier to understand people's accents. I say all that to say, if you don't understand her accent, just pop on the captions. You know, I think YouTube usually does automatic captions. But what she says is really, really wise. It's really insightful, and it's dead on. It's dead on. I mean, I wish, honestly, we wouldn't be here as a society with so many wars going on, you know, mass and attacks, if people would listen to Black women. But it doesn't surprise me that people don't listen to Black women. This is what's been happening since the dawn of time. Well, not the dawn of time, really, you know, I'm not gonna go there, but it's been happening for at least about 2,000 years. I will also caveat to say, don't dismiss this sister because of the way that she's dressed, or the background of her video, or the way you feel like she did her makeup, or any of that stuff. Listen to what she's saying. And I know it's dumb. It's dumb that I have to say that, but there has been such an ardent effort, you know, since the last 2,000 years, but really, really over the last 10 years, to really silence Black women and to just demonize Black women. It's been happening for a very long time, but it's been ramped up so much that you might just dismiss automatically what this woman is saying. You might have, and one thing that I notice with white people is like, they really do not like to bring up the topic of racism. This includes my white husband. This includes my white friends. This includes my white church members. And it's not to, you know, diss them in any way. It's to speak about systemic racism and a social bias, you know, but they don't want to talk about that. But if you don't talk about it, racism won't be eradicated. What's happened in the last like 10 years is that white people, because I feel like between the 90s and the early 2000s, the discussion of social justice had actually reached a really wonderful place. I feel like growing up, I saw PBS and public broadcasting discussions around figures of the civil rights movement and, you know, the freeing of the slaves in the US. I saw shows like Amistad growing up in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and figures like Joy DeGruy, like Anthony T. Browder, like Frances Cress Welsing, like Angela Davis, like Martin Luther King, like Malcolm X, being really analyzed in the public media, and people finally listening to kind of the things that Black people have been saying all along. And even African figures today, there's more who are talking and people are listening, you know. Since this far-right extremist trend has happened, there has been a major step back on the part of white supremacy. It had been sort of taught, but maybe it wasn't taught. Maybe it just was tamed. I feel like I said, in the 90s and early 2000s. But after that point, you know, the early 2010s, the late 2000s, early 2010s, there was a big step back. And now what happens basically, and Black women are talking about this. They're talking about it in Black Twitter. They're talking about it in Black spaces online and Black social media, on Black Instagram, everywhere. They're talking about it. They're talking about it in their homes. They're talking about it on the phone with their friends. There has been this very subtle, but very, very intentional effort on the part of movements like the Red Pill movement to silence Black women, to humiliate Black women, to discredit Black women. And it's really nothing new, you know? And when you talk in real life to white people about these issues, they often become very, very defensive. Now, why am I talking about this in relation to the incel movement? Because it is so wrapped up in that there's levels within that movement, you know? Like, even me, I don't know everything about it, but I know that there's these hierarchies that have been created in this movement where white, Anglo-Saxon, you know, what's received as socially attractive men are at the top, and where, you know, you have just levels that go down, including from white to Black, you know, and obviously, like all white supremacy, Black is at the bottom and white is at the top. And that doesn't unite us. That doesn't create social progress. It doesn't allow us to move past racism. Obviously, it just perpetuates it. You're not transcendent for just being racist. You don't get rid of racism for being racist. And xenophobia, you don't get anywhere from being xenophobic either. So I say that to all my fellow American viewers, whatever, Anglophone viewers, if you're coming from the UK or from Australia or Ireland, Scotland, whatever, all my Anglophone viewers, I'm just saying, or anywhere, people from anywhere, if you listen to this woman, you hear the way she talks, you see the way she dresses, please don't do my sis wrong. Don't do me wrong. You know, in the comments of this, please respect me, but don't do my sis wrong when we look at this together. Respect her and really listen to what she's saying, because she's spitting some wisdom.
Excited to share with you guys. The almighty Red Pill movement is going down. A lot of men are coming out to expose how the Red Pill movement has destroyed their lives. For those of you who know this guy, if you know this guy, if you watch any of his videos, you should be very much aware that this guy is one of the biggest perpetrators of the Red Pill movement. He's been training men, teaching men all of these things which they are about to expose, which has destroyed their lives. You want to stay tuned and watch till the end.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, do you remember me at all?
No.
Okay. So can I ask a quick synopsis of what you think the prescription is for society today for men? In a short version, what do you think they should do to be successful with women?
To be successful with women,
Yeah.
Okay, are we talking about like getting a girl for a long-term relationship, just to get laid? What are we talking about?
Well, I think the only reason should be for a long-term relationship and marriage. I mean, that's Jesus Christ founded it, but I'm just curious what your prescription is.
Well, I've talked about this. I think guys have to have certain things in place, right, before they want to get into a long-term relationship. It's 5 things. So I would say 100K per year, 6 figures a year, 6 months to 1 year of savings, be in good shape, have at least 50 partners, right? Sexual body count.
All right. And then
So many things wrong with this, and I feel like if you fall anywhere on the empathy spectrum where you can actually feel empathy, you know that this is wrong. But let me just call this out, right? You know, and I made a short video just talking about Charlie Kirk. I didn't say anything disrespectful to him. I said the truth. He was a racist, you know, he was homophobic. He was a white supremacist. He was a Christian nationalist, but he should not have been, he shouldn't have went out that way. But who did he get unalived by? Another white, you know, man from a conservative leaning background in a red state, you know, who was probably also very, very extremist in his thoughts, just like Charlie Kirk. Maybe they weren't the exact same thoughts, but extremists. Like, clearly this dude had been in the same 4chan, Discord, Twitter, X spaces as Charlie Kirk. So, I mean, how people try to blame the left, blame Black people for that. Anyway, Charlie Kirk passed away, unfortunately, during a rally where he would get up For years, he's done this where he would get up in front of young, impressionable minds. Your brain doesn't even develop until you're 25. So got up in front of young, impressionable minds, brains not even fully developed, bombarding them with lies, with bigoted, proven, false, hateful, vindictive, vitriolic lies, and just repeated them, just like fascists do, from Trump to Mussolini. And obviously he garnered a following from that, because if you just like yell lies at someone for so long and their brains aren't even fully developed, of course that's what's going to happen. Even if their brains were fully developed, even if they were grown adults. Well, you didn't see too many grown adults in his crowds, but I have heard that you also saw people above the age of 50, 60 in his crowd too. But what I want to get to is even the whole idea of like one white dude sitting on a podium in front of like thousands of young, impressionable, usually white minds, trying to tell them what to do to fix their life is already so scary. That's already so scary. And that's why you don't see barely any black faces there, because that just brings up like ancestral trauma of when white people used to hang us and crowds of the family would come to watch, or back in Europe when they would put the guillotine on their own village, peers, and people would eat a ham hock, a big turkey leg while they did it, It's in the black community, at least the black American community. I know that's a culture aside off on its own in a respect from the diaspora, but the diaspora is also intrinsically, we come from the same thing. We big bro, we big sis. We are two sides of the same coin. But in the black community, when there is trouble within the family and there needs to be some sort of intervention, there needs to be some help for someone's life. I don't know why, but Iyanla Fix My Life just came to mind. We turn to our faith leaders. We turn to the elders in our community. And that comes from Africa. Like, elders is a thing within the black American community, within the black diaspora, period. We don't go into these big public forums. I mean, just think about when you go to a house party, even if somebody is getting loud and rambunctious, even if they're laughing loud, everybody at the party is just turning around looking like, what's going on? What's going on? If one person says, hey, you being too loud, you're gonna have to get out of my house in a second, all of a sudden you got people fighting and something just escalated out of nowhere. That's what happens when a bunch of people get together, emotions run high. You can't create an intimate and spiritually fulfilling experience from that. If they were all gathering together to listen to a wonderful musical artist and just dance and mixing up French and Spanish and English. I'm sorry, my brain wants to say stuff in French. But if you're putting people together in an amicable situation where they're trying to just have a good time with people at a musical concert, for instance, or at a family reunion, at a big costume party, even at a religious event or a spiritual event, like something like a baptism or a christening, that's gonna be positive energy. Okay, we get it. But to sit here and line up a bunch of young, impressionable people and then tell them you're gonna fix their life, this is clearly about the grift. It's about money, and I feel so bad for the people who have fallen prey to this. When I saw that debate between Mehdi Hassan and 20 conservative kids on, I can't think of the channel's name. I can't stand that. Because they haven't had one single black person like me on there. to debate anyone. I haven't seen, and having whatever her name is, Amanda Seals, Amanda Beals, whatever her name is, she does not speak for Black women. She doesn't speak for Black America. She don't speak for nobody. She speaks for her crazy self, and that's it. But they won't get anybody in there like me, because they know they won't get anybody like my sisters, like my brothers, like my mama, like my cousin, like my grandma, like my granddaddy, like my uncles, like my aunts, like my daddy, like my cousins. They ain't gonna get nobody in there like that, because they know they would get their handed to them on a plate. But I just want to say, you know, aside from what this influencer has said about how you need to get your count up to 50, you need to sleep with 50 women to become graduated to what I think this version of this red pill alpha is, and you know, all these destructive things. Like, if you think about, if somebody actually follows his instructions, which is what you hear, what the testimonial of the guy who's debating him eventually says, he's like, you ruined my life, and I had to get myself up out of that to bring myself to something positive. If you actually think about that ish, like, they're basically handing a weapon to somebody and telling them to go find a bridge. Like, you can't tell this to young, impressionable men. You need to tell them to go and get an education. You need to tell them to take care of their physical and mental and spiritual health. You need to tell them to go and be with their friends, be with their peer group, to learn new things, to travel, to embrace new cuisines. Like, you don't... Okay. This is like at the point where I just probably will become a word salad of just explosion, because it is insane to me. And these conversations needed to be had like yesterday. This is not just affecting 18 to 25 or 35-year-old men. This is reaching our babies. These are reaching like little boys. So if that is a glimpse of what the future is between the cohesion of masculine and feminine, between women and men, we've got a lot to worry about, you know? And it's not really gonna 100% hurt the women in the end. It does hurt us, but it doesn't fully just hurt us. It's really the men that they hurt, because again, we know the statistics. If they follow these lifestyles, it doesn't end up them being the man with all the women and all the nice cars. It ends up in those statistics we talked about earlier, in opioid addiction, in opioid overdose, in in domestic violence situations, in hate crimes. That's where that ends. And not only, if you were an incel as a man, would you ruin your life, which is what this dude eventually says, you also would isolate yourself from your family, because you isolate yourself from your friends, because eventually nobody is going to want to put up with that. Nobody. So please do me a favor. Those who have been pulled into the incel and red pill movement, come back. We miss y'all. Come back. Leave those grifting, buff dudes who were telling you to pick up the weapon and go to a bridge. Please tell them to just get on somewhere, okay? And chart your own path. I had to say that.
Is that the last one?
And then there's one more, but that's fine. You could go ahead and engage with what I've said so far.
So the reason I asked that is I've watched almost every single podcast you ever did for about a year and a half. So much so that I bought into a lot of the things that you said. And for about 2 years, it led me astray and significantly damaged my personal life, including relationships.
How did it lead you astray?
Well, you told me to go sleep with a bunch of women and date multiple women at the same time, which I did, and it significantly damaged my life. And it wasn't until I actually turned around and started listening to Jesus Christ that I was saved. Now I'm happily married. I have one child now with another one on the way, and I've never felt happier. But I felt...
At least you say congratulations.
Thank you. And I know you're not against that, but my concern is what you're saying to men leads them astray, because I'm a walking example of it. And I think you're significantly damaging people, and especially you're leading people away from morality. Women are not sex objects. Women are created in the image of God, and they are valuable. and they should be treated as such. Why should God give you one of his children if you don't even know how to treat him?
What you say now? What you say?
So a question for you. You said you got out there dating and meeting women and stuff like
Yep.
that. And then you said that it kind of hurt you.
Yeah.
How did it hurt you specifically? Did you like just start? What happened specifically?
Well, I started warring against my own flesh. It's like trying to fill an empty void.
Mm-hmm.
There's a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of every man that can only be filled by God alone. Anything else you try to fill with that's not going to satisfy it.
Sure.
And I tried to do it with sex.
And as somebody who's been a player, who's been played, who's lived the whole red pill lifestyle, I'm here to expose absolutely everything. A lot of you guys think that a lot of women are just garbage, that they're all the same, that you're never gonna find love, that you're better off having a bunch of girls. The reason I say this is because that's what I used to believe, right? When I was like 18, 19, all I cared about was just hanging out with a bunch of women. You know, I would, use them. I was just a bad person, right? Very immature. And the thing about this lifestyle is you're only going to attract people that are on your level, and you are honestly on a very low level. It's sad. It's not worth your time. Spending hours, spending a lot of time just hanging out with different type of girls, you get nowhere. But I ended up finding out was eventually you start to fall into a pattern of always meeting the same type of people, getting the same result, and ultimately it leaves you unhappy, right? And that's what was happening with me. And at first, it's real easy to blame, women are all the same, they're just garbage, this is how they are. And you fall into this trap, and women do the same exact thing, bro.
The fact that he says woman rubbed me the wrong way. I was just like, ew, why do you keep calling women woman?
So now they hate men. And that's how I felt.
But what he's saying is it's real.
This is what separates us. Everybody has, resentment and anger towards the opposite sex. It's kind of sad. But
It is sad.
I ended up finally sitting down and realizing, if I'm getting the same exact result with different people, maybe the issue is me. And
accountability. If you look at something that MAGA, the red pill movement, the incel movement, and reality TV has in common is a lack of accountability, And I think if you pair that with psychopathy, I'm getting real right now. Psychopathy. What is the definition of psychopathy? It's doing the same thing and expecting different results, People who, narcissists, psychopaths, and even just vulnerable people who have a trauma, a wound that they don't heal. They don't go get an education. They don't go to therapy. They don't go to a faith leader. Instead, they crawl down the basement of the internet and get radicalized by the red pill movement. Obviously, all of these people, what they have in common is a lack of accountability, a lack of looking at self, of looking inward and saying, dang, I messed up. What can I do to fix my part on this? Narcissists, psychopaths, a lot of reality TV stars, not all of them, but a lot of them, what they have in common is that they are never, ever, ever going to look inward to see what it is that they did, how they could do it differently, and how to grow and improve themselves, and also to make amends to people that they hurt. And so when you live your life like that, one of two things is going to happen. Either you are going to just surround yourself with sycophants, very weak-minded people who are always going to puff you up and prop you up and say you're doing everything right, but these people are damaged in themselves. So you're not going to keep very good company. And that's what he was kind of talking about a bit, where he said, you will get played adopting the red pill, but it's going to be from damaged, broken women. Of those two things, that can happen, or you are just going to self-destruct. You're going to self-destruct because what you've told yourself, what you keep repeating to yourself in your head, that you are above it all, you are right, you have done nothing wrong, you have nothing to be accountable for, you are, in the right, what you're doing is righteous. Meanwhile, what you're doing is horrific. And you're seeing you're seeing the results of that, the consequences of that in your life. Whether it's one of these people who are going off on young black boys, calling them the N-word, and it gets recorded by somebody at a Target, and they end up being doxxed and losing their job, consequence. Whether it's your family members don't talk to you anymore, consequence. Whether it's that you don't get invited to the Thanksgiving, the Friendsgiving, the Halloween parties anymore, consequence. If you got kicked out of your lecture course at your university, consequence. If it's that you are developing illnesses, you know, not just opioid addiction, but whether you're developing like chronic high blood pressure or, you know, heart problems, consequence. So literally, I'm really trying to be real with y'all, and I respect you all as human beings, you know, but the path that you are going down, I don't respect it because it's wrong. And I feel like deep down, a lot of these young men know that it's wrong, and older men too. They've talked about in here that older men too. But one of those two things is going to happen. Either you are going to be surrounded by broken people, and all the other quality human beings that you used to have in your life will just suddenly disappear. You'd be like, what happened to all my people? You know, or you're going to blow up. You're going to blow up either on yourself, you know, and that sort of disparity, or the battling of those two realities, the one where you tell yourself you're righteous, whereas the world and karma and society, you know, to a certain extent, because society has been warped as well, but they've been warped into this vision that this is righteous to a certain extent as well. But as one of my favorite writers, Emerson, says, nothing in this universe goes mismanaged for very long. So you know it's wrong. You're going to end up in the wrong place. Either you're going to end up in an asylum, in jail, or 6 feet under. And that's no way to live. All right, let's keep going.
And you guys need to swallow y'all's pride. I'm tired of seeing pridefulness, ego, just, you're getting nowhere. You're getting nowhere. It's not helping you out. You feel empty, and you're always angry and think you're perfect, but guess what? There is no perfect human being. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. It's just not okay to act like we don't. So stop acting like you're perfect. Accept the fact that you make
things
mistakes.
better.
You also have the opportunities to make things better. That's what I ended up realizing. Yo, you know, I've made a lot of mistakes, dug myself in a deep hole, but not everybody's evil. Not everybody's garbage. It's a huge world. Accept the fact that this is a huge world, that you're going to meet a lot of garbage people, a lot of good people, and it's a part of life. It's something that's always existed. It's very emotionally immature to generalize man or generalize woman and think they're all garbage just because of personal experiences. That's stupid. Think hard about it.
Stop.
You know that it's immature and that it's illogical. So I said, you know what? I've been a garbage human being, but I'm going to change. I'm going to only focus on the good things. I'm going to accept the fact that good things can happen, bad things can happen, but that's life. Stop becoming so emotionally attached to everything and just realize that sometimes things happen because they're supposed to happen. And once I did this, my life completely changed. And the whole movement, the whole red pill movement, you know, is all women only date up and this and that. And yes, I understand it. I understand that you as a man have to get better every single day, and that's a fact. That is true. But listen closely. It does not address the intentions of getting better, right? Everybody says you got to get better, this and that. That's great, but what are your intentions? Think about this. Really think about this, because my intentions of getting better back then were just so other people can look at me and, you know, be impressed and think I'm cool and all that. And that's why y'all want all the supercars and the mansions, because you want people to look up to you. And I want the same thing. You know, I'm working hard every single day to get to that point, but not because I want y'all to be like, oh man, he's him, you know, this guy's a badass. No, because it'll be a testament to my hard work. And at the end of the day, I want to make God proud, and I want to make myself proud. I want to be happy that I gave everything I got, so the day that I am dying and I'm old and I'm wrinkly, I'll be able to look back and be like, yo, I gave it all I got. A lot of you guys are so wrapped up in this superficial mindset that you got to get a bunch of women, you got to impress a bunch of people, and you're getting nowhere. You're getting nowhere, all right? So coming from somebody that's lived both sides, I consider myself an expert in this.
They're out for revenge.
I know how it is. I know the lifestyle. It's not all that. It's not worth
Donald
it.
Trump?
And I'm going to be real with y'all. I met a lot of women. And whenever you're a garbage human being, you're going to meet people on your level. But whenever you start becoming better and stop being superficial and doing things out of vanity, you will meet higher quality people. And your life will change and you will feel way better. You'll feel more fulfilled and happier. And at the end of the day, I think that's what matters. I don't know. Y'all might disagree. Y'all might want to keep living that stupid lifestyle. I'm telling y'all, I did it. It's not worth it. I'm trying to save y'all years. I'm tired of seeing a bunch of older men too, 40, 50-year-olds with the same player mentality. You know, it ain't it. So I hope you really paid attention because this will change your life if you start to apply that way of thinking, you know. Everything can happen. Good things, bad things. Roll with the punches. Life will reward you. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Can someone explain to me why the pick-me girls aren't like just naturally falling into the arms of these like whatever type podcast guys, like the guys?
They don't actually want these women. They talk all this rhetoric for their podcast, but these kind of men actually want independent, strong-minded women. Not so they can actually better their life. No, because they want.
Hey y'all, I'm back. Okay, so my husband came home. I had to get dinner started. I also put out one of our kind of holiday timed, I'm gonna do my makeup over. I took out one of our holiday timed candles, okay, for the autumn scent. This one is vanilla. And I also went and I baked a really quick keto, low carb friendly ginger spice, pumpkin and banana bread, sugar free, gluten free, obviously. Trying to take care of our health. And I'm also, if you hear the fryer popping in the background, I'm making keto fried chicken, gluten free fried chicken. So I'm gonna put this back on. I'm with you guys. I'm just gonna do my makeup. Let's start back. Here we go.
Guys, like the guys.
They don't actually want these women. They talk all this rhetoric for their podcast, but these kind of men actually want independent, strong-minded women. Not so they can actually better their life. No, because they want to break them down. You have to really watch these guys' movements and how they actually respond to women. These men don't want to better or help women. They want to diminish them, devalue them. They want to break them down. They want these women to submit so they can humiliate these women. In my opinion, a lot of these guys have been rejected, maybe rejected by their own mothers, but they have been rejected or hurt at some point. And now they want revenge and they want to dish out pain towards women. You really gotta understand, a man that wants to do right by a woman or wants to do right by his woman or women in general, he will always lead and guide to the right answer. These men try to force you to their side and kind of break your ideology down. And now you can say, oh, you know, they just want to break delusional women.
That's what insecure
you know what?
people
Yes.
do. Broken people attract broken people. Hurt
break
people
down
hurt
a
people.
delusional person, but you do not have to humiliate them. They try to humiliate in the process. Talking about their body count, how many people they slept with, what their education level, and this, that, and blah, blah, blah. All in all, it's about power and humiliation. And so the moment that they actually get with a strong woman,
guys, at some point I'm gonna have to pause and go and get my food.
They finally do break this person down, they can then say, I have power over. They don't want to coexist with somebody, they want power over somebody. Because at the end of the day, that will make them feel strong. That will actually make them feel like an alpha male. Like they quote unquote says this, you know, they don't understand that actually leading and guiding and protecting, that what really makes
There's
an alpha
women who
male.
act like this too.
Their version of an alpha male is somebody who's able
We're
to
talking about
dominate
red pill
the
in the
next
incel
person.
community, but
Stay safe out there.
You know, I realized all the guys in the red pill community are genuine losers. Namely, any content creator within the red pill space, and they are genuine losers. And I realized, why as a young Muslim man do I need to follow red pill guys when in reality Islam is the all-encompassing thing that makes me a high-value man. So when I was watching a video right now, Muhammad Hijab and Fresh and Fit, you could tell Fresh and Fit guys were intimidated by Muhammad Hijab because Muhammad Hijab is an educated guy. Fresh and Fit, their bag is to talk down on these lower class women that don't even reflect the majority of women in society, and they kind of capitalize on this with their power trip. They talk down on these women, and you young impressionable kids are watching these guys and you think, yeah man, these guys are right. You go try implement it in real life, it doesn't work. So anyways, Muhammad Hijab was on a pod with these guys, and anytime Muhammad Hijab would ask them something, these guys are shaking like the losers they are. So my point to you guys is, why on earth do you need to look towards the red pill community when you are a Muslim? Islam, if you were to learn the religion, you would never ever look at red pill. And in reality, these red pill guys are not even Muslims. They are kuffars, and they are not a perfect example of what a man is supposed to be like. So if you are a young Muslim brother, trust me, run as far away as you can, because that community is horrible.
But
you thought the red pill was about
don't have the same beliefs as this man, but
it's
agree
a
with him 100%.
multi-million-dollar
This is
scam
not what real manhood
designed
is.
to keep you broke, bitter, and blindly following
It's a scam
grifters
designed to keep
who
you
don't
broke.
give a damn about you.
Oh, I really like this guy.
They sell you the problem, then sell you the solution. But the solution is just another scam. The red pill pretends to be about saving men from modern society. They pretend to expose the truth. They pretend to give you real advice. But here's
when
what
really
they
it's these
do.
billionaires who created this modern
They make
society
you
where
feel
nobody
lost
has
on
money
purpose.
to afford what they
convince you
need, what they
that
want.
you're a low-value
Unlike
man
just
who
20 years
don't
ago
have
when
money,
we had Democratic
muscles, and
presidents.
women.
What's that?
They flood you with fear-mongering content. Every video is modern women are finished, or men have no hope. To
All
keep
while
you
hiding their
watching.
hands while they're stealing all
Doom-scrolling
the
and
resources from
paranoid.
society, from politics.
They pretend like they care about you. They act like your big brother, your mentor, your savior, but they see you as nothing but a cash cow. You feel what I'm saying? You ever notice how
Listen
they
to the
never
brother.
give you real, actionable steps?
Listen
They
to
just
the
repeat
brother.
the same toxic talking points over and over. That's because if you actually fix your life, you will stop watching. For sure. Once they hook you in, suddenly everything that matters is members only. They be saying things like, you want the real secrets? Join my $50 a month exclusive group. Want my top tier dating game? Buy my $500 course. Want to be a truly high value man? $2,000 for a private coaching call. You feel
This
what I'm
is
saying, bro?
lucrative.
What they're really doing
is a
is
lucrative
finessing
scam.
like a fake preacher on Sunday morning. And here's the secret tactic they use. They use fake testimonies and body counts to make it seem like so many men are improving. It's all stage. That's how they get you. The guys in their inner circle are either paid actors, their own employees are hyping them up, people desperate to be liked, lying about success. These clowns love to show off, but here's reality. Luxury cars, leased or rented. The high-rise apartments, Airbnbs. The models they with, paid escorts. The wealth, 99% comes from selling you fake dreams. And here's the super secret point. They tell you never pedestalize women, but they pay women to be in their videos.
Meanwhile, that's
They
what they're
tell
doing.
you never chase women, but they hire escorts just to look cool. They don't live what they preach. And the biggest mad fuck of all, they don't actually want you to succeed. If you get fit, rich, and socially smart,
Because if they
you
succeeded,
won't
they wouldn't
need
have
them
a
anymore.
market to make money off of.
If you get a good relationship, you will stop
Right.
watching their content. If you learn the truth, they lose their power over you. So what do? They keep moving to goalposts, whatever you say it. Oh, you made 6 figures? Not enough. Real men make 7. Oh, you got a girlfriend? That's beta. Real men have a rotation. Oh, you're happy? That's weak. Real men are always on the ground. See, they shame you for having normal human emotions. Being happy, that's weak. Loving a woman, that's beta. Woman and family, that's foolish.
And I think men are susceptible to that, since they're always trained, like the man said earlier, to not show their emotions.
And most importantly, hate themselves. And guess who?
They hate women, exactly.
Them.
All these red pill MGTOW men, you want traditional values and traditional women, but you don't want to pay the price. Traditional values, traditional women come with the full bill up front. You're not gonna go find this 22-year-old virgin that you're gonna court, and she has to prove to you before you decide to buy her a meal. Her father will shoot you in the face.
Modern men have allowed the red pill to delude their minds from reality. All these ridiculous, unrealistic expectations that modern men have for women is not going to be tolerated.
As someone who's fallen into it and grown out of it, let's debunk red pill rhetoric. And yes, per usual, I have notes. She's not yours, it's just your turn. It's a common one amongst men who have gotten played in some capacity or have been cheated on. While yes, people are not possessions, I learned in therapy that people are experiences, but she chose you for a reason, family. It being your turn means you won. She likes the way you treat her, she likes the way you talk to her, she likes the way you handle her. Just be in the experience. It's really that simple. Here's another one. Women are materialistic gold diggers. Some. Emphasis on some. However, on the flip side, there are women who require, demand, and deserve depth. Money is not the most important thing in a relationship, and I don't know when and where we got as a society to where that has been the standard, because it's not true. I've also noticed that red pill is pro-hedonism. I'm gonna be so real with y'all. There's not a single universe where juggling multiple women, being in sexual relationships with multiple women, hookup culture, whatever y'all want to call it, is better than being loyal and sticking to one woman. That's propaganda I would never fall for. I don't care who is talking about it. That's just a man's way of telling you that he's trying to fill an insatiable void within himself through women, and it's really self-inflicted torture, if we're being honest. It's typically why you see some men lashing out women or developing a hate for women, because of that void and that wound that they're unable or unwilling to address. There's also great emphasis on just focusing on money for whatever reason, which again, is not the most important thing in the world. But in the context of women, after we get the money, then what? You still have to learn how to talk to women. You still have to have social skills and confidence within yourself. That all starts with internal work, therapy, meditation, a balanced diet, dating with integrity, honesty, and until work starts in here so that your reality can reflect positively out there. And yes, everyone's favorite, she has to be submissive. This goes for anybody, but y'all do realize that people would be more inclined to do what you ask and to show up the way you would like if you relinquish control. That's how energy works. Women are no different. And if we're being real, a submissive woman dominates the man. But that's a conversation y'all not ready for.
It's like painfully obvious that like the guys who make red pill content or are mad at women who don't want to go on coffee dates have actually never been touched consensually by a woman. I don't know if you've seen women, but they're pretty amazing, pretty beautiful. They're nice. I enjoy their company. Then again, I don't have a problem getting company, so maybe that's part of it. Or I'm just like a human being who can think clearly. But at the same time, like, there's no amount of being turned down by a woman that would ever make me turn into a person who just hates their existence. I mean, like, even men who like men don't just default dislike women, just romantically. This is why I feel like there's some repressed things happening, some internal conversations that need to happen, because there's just quite literally too many women in existence for me to be taking my disdain for one bad experience and then projecting it onto every single other one. That's why I think you guys have some other conversations that you need to be having, because it's very weird, but it's very obvious you also just have never been touched or have ever gotten the chance to consensually touch them and interact. Get over it.
Every time I see red pill niggas, you could literally just see like you was not cool in school. Like I never seen not one of them that's like you was one of them niggas and like you was like that your whole life. Like you can always tell that you was probably lame. You went to college, got your money up, and now you want to talk to girls all types of way because you might have got curved by Cassandra way back when. Like, bro, tighten up, bro.
I wonder how much of this actually also comes from insecurity. Most of it is all insecurity because like these guys grew up with a mindset that because I am a man, I need to be respected, and then they cling on to that and don't ever learn and realize that, wait a minute, you have to actually have other characteristics to be a respected man, right? You have to have other skills. You have to have, most importantly, social skills. Really, that's what it comes down to. But I feel like the guys
show
that
value in some way,
right? You have to, yeah, exactly. And then some of these guys, I feel like, never learned that, and then just kind of used the whole man thing as a crutch, and it's like, nope, that's it. Or the fact that they don't have those skills as a crutch, and it's like, I'm just gonna go ahead and go with the tradition of you. I'm like, I'm a man, you must respect me.
Yeah, that's easy, bro.
Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, exactly. It's easy.
It's hard to like actually do the work and be a good leader.
I used to be a massive red pill guy when I was younger until I realized how stupid it is. Like, when has it ever been new to anybody that bad human beings exist? Like, yes, there's some women that are going to want to use you. There's some women that don't care about you, that are superficial. Of course, that exists. That's right. However, if that exists, that means a good woman exists as well. Yet, a lot of times as well in the red pill movement, it's like, oh, guys,
just like there's men who are crazy,
I just think that's stupid as well. Now, looking back at it, you can't expect to grow a fruitful tree with the rotten seed, bro. You're never going to find the right person if you're not the right person for that person. And I was always meeting the wrong type of people, and I would blame women. I'm like, that's because all women are the same. Well, no, maybe the woman you attract aren't any good because you're no good. But it takes accountability to get to that point. A lot of people do not have that. You would rather blame the world than blame yourself for attracting what it is that you dislike. Because it's such a vast and massive world that good things, bad things exist. So there's no real right answer. It's up to you to attract what it is that you genuinely want. So if you want something of good quality, well, it better be good quality. But hey, it goes for men and women. A lot of you guys aren't going to listen to me because you got too much pride in your heart. But once you actually take accountability, your whole mindset will just change.
What people don't understand about the red pill is that it works. Just hear me out. A lot of people are confused as to why the movement is so popular, and it's popular for two reasons. The first reason being, a lot of men are living vicariously through other men's stories online. So we're not talking about them there. We're talking about the second reason, the second category, and that is men who were not getting play, who then learned about the red pill, implemented the tactics, and then started getting play. Now the question becomes, why does that phenomenon occur? And it occurs because the main thing that the red pill teaches men is how to move in a more avoidant fashion. It's essentially taking men and making them more avoidant. All of the tactics, all the push-pull, hot-cold behavior, that's all avoidant. And when I say it works on anxious women. It also works on damaged women or women who had a lot of trauma. So you have anxious women who are used to a dynamic where she has to chase the man who's triggered by the avoidant behavior, and therefore he attracts women like that. So that is the problem with that philosophy, is that the men who are involved in it can't zoom out and look at the full picture and see, while I'm getting positive results, I'm getting these results with the type of women that have internal shit they got to work out. It's going to be off-putting to a psychologically healthy individual. And it's frustrating to me because there is a middle path. There is a way to move with integrity, with, move in a high trust fashion and still get positive results with the opposite sex without doing any of the damaging shit that the red pill teaches. But that kind of advice doesn't work online. So people default to extremes.
So, besties, let's talk about the red pill movement. The red pill movement claims to liberate men, right? But it has actually harmed them, especially the ones who took the most toxic and extreme elements to heart. Here is a breakdown of how the red pill...
Pausing at 28:05. Now, again, as I said earlier in the video, listen to this woman. Really listen to her. Don't take any of your conscious or subconscious biases that the world has just taught you to have against anybody who looks like this woman, anybody who talks like this woman, anybody who lives in a place like this woman lives in, any sort of predisposed biases that you might have listening to this woman, before you hear the content of what she's saying, like Martin Luther King said, listen to the content of this woman's character, right? Please listen to what she's saying and try to understand the details of it, as well as like the cohesion of everything that she's saying put in together with context to all the men that you just heard from. Because she really is spitting some wisdom. So listen.
Movement has damaged modern men. The first point is it promotes mistrust towards women. Red pill content portrays women as untrustworthy, manipulative, and hypergamous. This leads men to assume bad faith in relationships. Men assume the worst out of women. They avoid emotional vulnerability, and they enter relationships with suspicion and defensiveness. This makes healthy and fulfilling relationships nearly impossible. Some men isolate themselves emotionally and become transactional in how they treat women. The red pill movement reinforces toxic masculinity. This movement considers masculinity, or they define masculinity very narrowly and shallow. They consider masculinity to be strength, dominance, emotional detachment, and financial status. Then it shames compassion and empathy. It shames emotional expression, and it also shames cooperation with women as equal. So men are not supposed to cooperate with women or treat women as their equal. The red pill movement encourages men to be detached emotionally, to be cold, to be stoic, to not show their emotions. A lot of these things is toxic masculinity. All of these things causes men to suppress their emotions, fear being seen as weak, and disconnect from their authentic self. These can lead to anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. There are a lot of men who commit suicide because they have been trained to not express themselves emotionally. They have been trained to not express or show their emotions because they don't want to be seen as weak. The red pill movement encourages the slut shaming and disrespect of women. If you sit and watch and see the way these guys talk down on women, the men who are diehard red pill followers, the way they talk about women, the kind of words they use to slut shame women and drag women like women are irrelevant, is very disheartening. The red pill movement has turned self-improvement and self-development into a performance. While self-improvement is a core red pill theme, fitness, wealth, and confidence, it is often motivated by status seeking or revenge. So many men are doing self-development or leveling up to dominate and attract women, not because it is fulfilling to them. They are leveling up to dominate and attract women, not for personal fulfillment, and so many of them are doing it for revenge. They want to show their ex-girlfriend that, see where I am now, I'm making a lot of money, can you see that I'm that guy, can you see what you lost? They are actually doing the self-development to actually show off, not because they find it personally fulfilling. They are doing it to attract women, to dominate, to have more clout, for validation. They are not doing it for the right reasons. Most especially, they are doing it for revenge and status. This causes men to be obsessed with external validation. They may chase money, status, and aesthetic, but they will still feel hollow. They will never feel fulfilled. They will never feel good enough. Still feel hollow and empty inside. They will never feel good enough. The red pill movement creates a chamber that echoes bitterness. The red pill community is filled with a lot of bitter, unhealed, traumatized, broken, insecure men who are venting their anger and frustration on the internet. A community filled with angry, resentful men who are mentally gay. This is just what the red pill movement is all about, in my opinion. They twist facts and truths with gaslighting. They twist facts, they twist the truth, and they are very biased with their ideas.
The thing is, okay guys, and we're almost done here, but the thing is that they're not only disrupting the internet, they're not only damaging the women who may or may not come into their lives, they're damaging themselves, and they're damaging the relationships that they have with people around them, in their communities, in their family, in their marriage, their kids, if they have children. If they don't have children, it's, you know, the ones closest to them, maybe friends from school or, you know, friends that they grew up with. I mean, I tell you, these people are just, because I see it in real life. Like, people forget that we don't exist online 24/7, that eventually we pack up our shanties, our sea shanties and our seashells, and we actually go and interact in real life. And we're not always here on this social media thing. Sometimes we actually do go and live our lives and our daily lives in real life. And when they do go and do that, they are behaving in ways that's almost like, I see it as kind of almost on the spectrum. Like, you guys know how Elon Musk has self-diagnosed himself as having Asperger's. Asperger's, a lot of people don't know, because my boyfriend in college had Asperger's, or has Asperger's. And interacting with him and his parents who've been following this basically since his childhood, and him being fairly independent, well, actually really independent, you know. Autism really is on a spectrum, and Asperger's is a milder case of autism. But there are those who have very like high levels of autism, who are essentially not working with a full deck. I mean, and I am not trying to be condescending or mean in any way, shape, or form right now here. I'm telling you, there are actual people. I was literally talking to my husband about like how they got rid of asylums. Now that is one thing, the single thing that Donald Trump and I agree on. We pretty much don't agree on anything else, but the fact that the West at some point got rid of all the asylums and replaced it with this for-profit system of prisons and over-policing people, a lot of crazy people who don't really fall in the spectrum of normal functioning neurodivergent citizens, and those who are, for lack of better words, remorseless criminals. They fall in between those two things. You know, they don't really fit into either category. Where are they supposed to go? So I think we're actually seeing a lot of those people. They are manifesting in this red pill movement. They are manifesting themselves in this red pill movement, you know? And it doesn't just disappear. Again, I'm not saying that every incel out there is some horrible, how do you even want to say it? Some horrible, sociopathic, autistic, you know, weirdo. I'm not saying that, but look at Brian Kroberger, or whatever his name is, who unalived those four or five students, however many it was, you know. I mean, he really fits the bill of a I sound like a robot, of an incel. He really fits the bill of someone who just didn't get in life in terms of women and girlfriends, in terms of socialization and friends and friendships, someone who didn't get what he wanted. And so what he resorted to was unaliving some people. I mean, there's probably people who are likely associated with the red pill movement or are associated with incels who will come on my channel and say, oh great, another big mouth. You know, what is she even talking about? What does she even know? But think about it, guys. Not all of, like, the majority of these men probably won't go and commit a school or a mass or, you know, a hate crime. They probably won't. Majority won't. But a lot will. And a lot might not make it to that point, but they might end up in jail for domestic violence or, worse, as I've said several times, they might end up 6 feet under, because you cannot live this kind of life of delusion with no accountability and not have horrible consequences take place as a result. Eventually, those horrible consequences are going to take place as a result, and either you're going to unalive yourself because you can't take the delusion anymore, or, you know, something terrible will happen. This is how these things end. And what the commentator, what the lady is saying is so true. These are insecure, unhealed men who basically are just harming themselves. It's actually heartbreakingly catastrophic if you think about it. It's actually really, really heartbreaking, because that means you've got a bunch of people who are hurting, you know? Okay, so let's keep going.
red pill movement encourages a victim mentality disguised as strength. Red pillars adopt a narrative. They have this narrative in their minds. You hear them say things like, the system is rigged against men. The system is rigged against men. Women have all the power now. These are the things they say. It discourages real accountability and growth. It causes men to blame women and society for their problems. Rather than seeking inwardly and finding productive solutions, men rather pour their frustration, their anger, and project all of these negative things which is happening in today's world on women, and they won't take accountability in the part they play. Men will rather project their insecurities, their problems, their weaknesses on women and blame women for these things. The red pill movement undermines healthy masculinity. It causes men to disconnect from their emotional needs. It causes men to disconnect from their purpose beyond dating or power and healthier expressions of masculinity. This creates men who are physically fit, financially successful, but emotionally numb, distressed, and alone, distrustful and alone. Red pill movement inhibits real connection and real intimacy. If you believe that women are hypergamous, inherently selfish, and are incapable of loyalty, how would you ever love a woman? How would you love or be loved? This red pill ideology trains men to avoid emotional investment, to treat relationships, dating, and women as a game, and to avoid real vulnerability out of fear of losing control. Some of the ideologies of this movement teaches men to be violent and toxic. One of the main reasons of the male loneliness epidemic is because of the red pill movement. A lot of men have deliberately decided to become toxic because that is the only way they will feel in control of women, relationships, and literally everything. The red pill movement seems empowering in the beginning, just like a lot of these men in this video have said. They felt empowered in the beginning.
Cause them to be violent. She said causes them to be violent physically and mentally. I hope I didn't misquote her, but I think that's what I was getting from there. Physically and mentally. I'm gonna change my lip color. The thing is these people are mentally unstable. That's why you see so many of them on TikTok yelling at people parking their car, yelling at pedestrians, yelling at children, threatening to hurt people's dogs, like just going crazy, you know, acting all authoritarian and righteous, meanwhile just acting like a total hot mess. That is because, I'm telling you, it's that is because something is off. Something is very, very mentally off. And instead of, you know, they refuse to go and get help and to go and heal themselves, to go to school, to go get a new trade, to go reconcile with whatever crazy family member maybe help to shape and mold them to the way that they are. They don't do that. They don't go do that. Instead, they just are walking, ticking time bombs, and any person in their life, but mostly the poor women who are unfortunate enough to have gotten sucked into their webs with this whole crazy mess, or partners. I won't say women, because we see with the Charlie Kirk's that it's not exclusively women. I'll say with the partners, whoever unfortunately ends up being touched by these people, it could turn dangerous. It could turn from something more than mental, you know. And one of the main descriptions of narcissistic personality disorder, we talk about the narcissist a lot on this channel, is that, you know, they will buy their delusion. They will buy their lie that they are this all-intelligent being. They're in the right, you're in the wrong. They'll buy that. They'll eventually just start deceiving themselves into believing that. And what do you think that kind of partner is like? You think that's a happy life right there? Between someone who is just lying to themselves every day? I don't think so. I think that sounds like a horrible, horrible existence, but that's currently what's happening. That's currently what's happening. I've seen it. I've seen it so much. I've seen it with people who I used to be really close to, you know, and then in the past 10 years, I just didn't want to really talk to them anymore. And it's like, you know, what happened to so-and-so? Why don't I want to talk to them anymore? they probably been online getting radicalized. And so when people become that way, everything that is outside the purview of their desire, of what they want, what they define as the right way of going about stuff and the wrong way, honey, if you're not following their way, they just have, you know how toddlers have little temper tantrums in the grocery store, 2- and 3-year-old babies, how they have temper tantrums when they can't get the candy that they wanted, or they can't do something, you know, and they just go crazy. This is how these grown men, ages, you know, anywhere from 15 to, you know, 50, 60 years old. This is how these men walking around here, just ticking time bombs. It's dangerous, it's not right, and they have been deceived. I really, really hope that somebody eventually does something about it in turn. I won't say somebody. I hope that the government eventually does something about doing a better job of legitimizing our experiences online, you know, and the people who seem like they have authority over the words they're saying, if they are scam artists, if they're kooks, you know, if they're crooks, hopefully the government doing something about that to adjust it, you know. But here, let's go ahead and close this out and we'll come back.
Destroy them. The other guy said he had to go back to church and give his life to Christ in order for him to be fulfilled and happy, because after following all of the laws, the rules of this red pill movement, it destroyed him. The red pill movement hasn't destroyed all men, but it has trapped many in circles of resentment, disconnection, and false masculinity. Vulnerability, love, and purpose, they are not weaknesses. These are the foundations of a resilient man. A lot of men think being vulnerable is a weakness, expressing your emotions is a weakness. This is what this toxic movement has trained them. And who do you have to blame? The system. Who created the system? Men. Anyways, I'm going to leave this video here. You guys can see it for yourself. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. How do you think the red pill movement has damaged the modern man? Add more points. I'm dying to see them, and I'm going to see you guys in my next video. Bye.
Alright guys, we'll stop there. It's been a long journey on this video. I'm really glad that you guys stuck with me to the end. Again, if you're new to this channel, hit the like, subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll know whenever I post a video. Tell me what you think about this important subject in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye!